This podcast contains an English accent that most of our Irish listeners will find offensive. Also, there may be some colourful language that you're going to find less offensive. Now, over to Ryan and Leon. Enjoy the podcast.
I was 40, so 7 years ago. And I trained to get big or small for a film, but on my own. You know, like very lonely, boring.
Yes.
And you just change, and it's not good for your body, and there's no people, there's no game, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'd go to this, and there's a club at the end of my road, and the guys were all jiu-jitsu, and they have kickboxing and boxing, and I thought I'd try a bit, but I've always been a bit nervous of the fighting martial arts community, because I thought, well, this is for them. For me, I don't think I belong. You know, come and have a go, you know. And I did, and then they were really nice.
Yes.
People are nice.
Yeah, people are
and then I started to enjoy the community, and it gave me a level of confidence, honest confidence, because I always get beaten, but that's okay.
Yeah,
but I kept turning up. It's really important. So you're never going to be the best. It's impossible.
Yeah.
But you can be better than you were by just coming. And there's nothing to be scared of. You know? And then what I realized was that everybody there who I thought was scary weren't really different. You know? Now it's more of a meditation or a relaxing. I have no competitive spirit.
Okay.
I don't need to win.
Playful.
Yeah. Because I think that, you know, with the work that I do, it can be very competitive.
Yeah, and you don't want everything in your life to be so...
No, and I think it's good to start at the bottom and be shit at something. But if you keep going, you get better.
What a delicious man that was. The old Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy, yeah. You even saying that he has got a mad voice.
He's a mad fucking accent.
He says that, well, the reason he has is he grew up in an area where there was a lot of diversity. So all his mates were from different ethnic backgrounds, like black lads, like his mates, they were his mates. So he just kind of, when you're from an area like that, when there's loads of different cultures, at a young age, your voice turns into something that's a bit of a mishmash of, like, it's South London, but it's also like a bit Jamaican. And if you can hear a little bit of that, there's a little bit of that going on as well.
African, Jamaican, kind of Caribbean vibes to his accent, like a lilt kind of almost.
There's a lilt, yeah. Just the lads he used to roll around with. Yeah. Actually, he talks about like how when he was a younger actor getting into work, how important it was to start cutting those friends off, because like he always rolled around with the same lads he always did. Yeah.
But sure, didn't he have a rough start at the beginning?
Yeah.
Addiction and stuff like that. And now he's obviously doing well.
Doing really well. And it resonated with me because, you know, I often think sometimes, is it ever too late? So it's never too late, but like there's a fine line, because you don't want to be, 52 auditioning for the X Factor going, this is my bag now.
You could be Susan Boyle.
Well, that's what, yeah.
Could be next Subo. You could be the Rydug. Subo. It's Rydug. But like, you look at, there's say for instance, I love the Instagram and the internet because it shows things you'd never normally see, right? So there's a...
Oh God, here we go.
No, listen. Think ahead of the good on. This is positive,
Where
right?
is this going?
There's an amazing woman called Joan McDonald, right? She's in her 70s.
Okay.
And she's an Instagram page called Train with Joan. So
Oh.
Joan, when she was 70 years of age, was on blood pressure medication, was pre-diabetic, couldn't walk a lot, was very overweight. And her daughter is like a bodybuilder, competitive bodybuilder, and got her into like bodybuilding. And you should see her now. She's fucking jacked.
Wow.
And she's lost loads of weight. She's off all her medication. She looks about 20 years younger. She's got herself a little wash and blow dry, got a little haircut and all.
A little glow up.
Has like 2 million followers on Instagram. And like just trains and like lives healthy now. She she'd never lifted weight before until she was 70. So you could never be...
No.
You can never be too old.
We don't want to sound like Joe Rogan podcast here. It's poetry pod. But that is important. Like, using fitness and healthy choices for a new lease of life is important.
Well, you know Aristotle. Aristotle.
I've heard of his... Yeah, familiar with his
from
work.
Cabra he is. But Aristotle... Because he's past the young ones that wear the bathrobes to the shops. You know what I mean? Lives near the centre. And Aristotle used to have, because you know, they, like, philosophers had their own schools. So Aristotle had, in his part of his philosophy school, he used to like have training regimes, training routines for like his students. So that he'd be like, you have to exercise the body and the mind. It's not just one or the other. It can't be just body and it can't be just mind. It has to be both to be the best that you can possibly be. And it makes sense, I suppose, because the fitter you are or the more energy you have, the more you can put into thinking as well. Because obviously thinking takes up fucking energy as well.
But Stephen Fry, who shared a voice note of a couple of weeks back, he was saying that one of the things that he attests to when it comes to rescuing his mental health was like going on really long walks. So he just walk and for hours and hours. Just get his fitness back. Because I think if you've watched QI, you'll see Stephen's weight go up and go down. When he dropped a lot of weight, I think maybe like 6-7 years ago, he was talking about the power of walking it off. And he's a really insightful fella, so he's not like, I couldn't walk it off. There's no like, you can't just do that. But it does. He did say like it helped him.
Definitely. Well, like any sort of exercise, whatever it is, as long as you do something enough, it is great. And if you're doing a repetitive motion like walking or running or swimming, cycling, rowing, whatever it is because it's repetitive over and over and over again. You do kind of, it is meditative. It is.
You go into like a trance.
You're into a trance,
state, don't you? Yeah,
because you're just like, it's like the body just takes over and the mind doesn't have to do much. You're just like, and that's why walks are great. They always like. Remember reading before, they said if you're ever stuck on an idea or you're writing something, go for a walk, because the repetitive motion, your body just is too busy just doing something really, really boring. Well, not boring, but like, it doesn't take that much mental energy to go for a walk, unless you're walking through the streets of like Italy and Rome where the traffic's fucking mental. But like, like a normal citizen,
quite a brave choice that, because I know what you mean. Because I've been doing that recently because I've had to. I wasn't forced, but like I had to get into a state of like writing new material. So I was like, right, I need to get some more information. So every day I was like, right, I need to write something new. And most of the days I didn't really have an idea. So like, right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go outside, no AirPods, no headphones, no phone, and just walk. And it's actually quite an anxious experience because you don't really ever do that.
No.
Like, what do they call it? They go like freeballing it or something, don't they?
Yeah.
And when people go on airplanes and just stare at the back of the seat for hours and hours. What's it called?
Isn't it from?
I can't remember what. There's a name for it. The kids are saying
it's from Luther, isn't it? And it's like there's a scene where he's on like a 12-hour flight and he just stares at the little screen with the airplane.
Oh, does he?
And he watches the airplane take off in like New York and doesn't stop looking at it till it lands like somewhere else, and he just stares at it.
A bit mental,
and it's like, how much of a stoic are you? That's just fucking
stupid. Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius didn't do that. Like, fuck off, like, do you know what I mean?
It's quite nerve-wracking to do it though, because like, because initially you're walking, like, I've got nothing to do here. What I'm going to do? Where is my brain going to take me? And then like, you've got to trust your brain to take you where you want to go. But it's quite like, ooh, you do feel. I felt a bit scared doing that. It worked though.
We live in a world of constant distraction.
We do.
And when you finally are alone with your thoughts, a lot of people can't deal with that. See people that just talk and talk and talk and talk. And do you ever get them people that would just word vomit because they're afraid of the silence between you? They can't deal with being around someone else and not talking. Same thing. You just because you have your own internal dialogue as well.
Multitasking as well, like people that was like phone screen, and like literally doing two things at once. You can see when they're doing it.
100%. And how Deep Work? I've referenced it before, but Deep Work is a brilliant book by Cal Newport, and he talks about like you only have so much mental capacity at one time, so you can't. If you do, say for instance, if you are just reading a book, say 100% of your concentration's on that. If you're reading a book and listening to music, realistically speaking, no matter how, depending on the level of music, the higher the music, the lower the percentage of concentration on the book is because the music is taken over. Now imagine if you're reading your book, listening to music, and you're on your phone. How much concentration have you got on any of those things?
You're going nowhere. Your brain's just bouncing off the walls.
You know what I mean?
It's mad with the music and the reading stuff because we're doing the read along. Actually, we're wrapping up the read along this week of our first read along for our Patreon subscribers, and I kind of like not had a date to myself, like, but I set an evening where I was like, right, this is the day I'm going to read this poetry collection. I didn't do it in like one sitting. I think I split the evening up into two parts, but even though I know that I can't concentrate on reading when I'm listening to music, I still tried because I think I'm addicted to the image of the coolness of having like some vinyl record playing in the background as you're like putting your feet up and reading a poetry collection. And after the first minute of listening to like Fontaine's DC's new album, you're kind of going, I can't do this. So I haven't got it in me. Like I
Yeah.
can't actually focus. So I had to Alexa turn off, and then you realise.
I could listen to a bit of soft jazz instrumental.
I couldn't even do that.
Really?
Tried to move it to like just instrumental and house music, and I just couldn't do it. Head was just not really...
Lo-fi I can listen to. But I have to put it to a certain level that it's so different. If I'm on the train and it's loud, I have my noise cancelling earphones, and I put a really low bit of music just so it kind of blocks out all the sounds of people screaming on the train, or you know them cunts that are on the train and they're just fucking on TikTok full volume, no earphones. Psychopaths, absolute. And it's getting worse. There's more and more people getting prevalent where they're just like, I think it's just normal for me to imagine just having a television on the train and watching a full blast
film.
and just going like, this is lovely. No one else around here is going to fucking hear this. Yes, well, we can hear you, prick. All right. Yeah, man should have smacked you more as a child. That's what I think. I've riled myself up now.
Yeah, with the phone call thing as well. When someone next
shit.
to you is talking, I just want to make a phone call just to be a dickhead.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Oh man, I was on the train the other day and there was a fella and he was clearly out of his nut and he was ringing all of his mates. He was talking. He was an American fella talking about how he got sacked from his job, but like he after like the fourth phone call he told one of the lads, yeah, I took a few mushrooms a while ago. And obviously he's caught in a loop. Yeah. And he's like, I have to tell everybody. And he was having the same conversation with different people. God. And then he was ringing the same. I was like, I had to get off this track. I feel like I was fucking stuck in a cycle or something. It's never ending. Like, and the man beside me was just increasingly getting more and more. You know, like Irish people they're too polite to say, "Here, shut the fuck up." He's just sighing really heavy. He's like, oh. And your man was completely oblivious because that was fucking nuts.
All the things I would do to you if I had the bollocks.
Yeah, if I was brave, but I don't want to make a fuss.
I'm not brave. He goes home and sits in the sofa going, all the things I'd have done.
Goes home and kicks his bleeding tree. I don't know.
Cat.
I was going to say cat, but I'm not going to.
Sorry.
Don't want to get in trouble with Peter.
Not a big cat guy, to be honest.
Peter Bread.
We're talking about running and Tom Hardy's voice note because we just had the Dublin Marathon this weekend and you were there. You ran it. You ran the whole bloody thing.
It was. Do you know? It was actually it was. It's a very unique one in Ireland because it's only a marathon, whereas all the other races I've been to, there's been like a half marathon on or a 10k at the same time, where this is just a marathon. And there's 22,000 people registered now. I'm not too sure what the official number was of who actually ran eventually, because some people like back out or whatever. But there was 1 million people came to support, which is fucking mental.
That's amazing.
Mental. And like, it's not. Because obviously you start in town, you go through like the Phoenix Park, you go Chapel Listed, Inchicore, Dolphins Park. I'm not going to do the whole route, but like, you know, you go all around the south side, and you think like, you'll get support in like town definitely, and then it'll be like less support in certain areas.
Constantly,
and it's so strategically placed. When you start to dip, you can hear they have like a DJ, and you're running into music, and then there's a big fucking crowd of people, and it's like Chapel Lizard, it's not near town, and then you're off again, and then you're on the buzz of that, and it's like you're almost like feeding off the energy, and then as you start to dip again, you'll hear a band playing, and there was these lads playing like a full band were playing, and then you'd start to dip again, and there'd be another DJ, and it was just strategically placed just to help you along, and like it was our fastest marathon this year by 4 minutes. Like, and
you've done a few of them. Jesus, you've done a fair few of them.
9 now. This
9.
Nearly finished. I only do 3 more. I need to do 3 more this year.
You're doing 3 more before the year ends?
I'm doing 12 in 12 months.
Wow.
But I was stupid. I'm 1 behind because I got the idea in February. That's what to do in December now.
I saw you post a poem about it, actually.
Yeah.
I think you posted it yesterday.
So I did a little poem. I wanted to write a poem about the support because, as I said, I've ran a couple of them this year, and the bigger ones are always nice because there's always more support. But like, say, like the likes of Limerick and stuff like that, or Longford, when you're in the centre, it's brilliant. There's so many people, but you start to kind of run out of the. You go back into you're going around the city centre, but you go out and you come back in. And when you go out, you kind of don't. There's no one really there because you're in a back road or you're out somewhere, and then you come back in. Whereas with Dublin, it was just all over the place. It's just people cheering the whole way constantly. So I made a poem that was a tribute to anyone that was there to support, because they deserve it, because the support was fantastic. And I constructed the poem using every single line as a sign I saw along the way.
Great.
So this is what it's called. It's I actually don't have a title for it. I'll title it what the first line is. What are you running from?
Oh, lay it.
What are you running from? I just came to support my friend. Have stamina? Call me. I only stayed for the topless men. And think of the pints, lads. And ladies, run faster. 'Cause Colin Farrell's just ahead. While a fart could mean disaster. For pain is only temporary. And the French word for bread. Strava is forever. Would you not consider therapy instead?
That was What Are You Running From by Leon Dunn. Yeah, loved it. Great. Yeah, brilliant. Amazing. I wonder how many of the million people that were supporting who actually were there for Colin Farrell.
I was.
Yeah.
Didn't see him though.
No?
He ran a really good time. He ran 4 hours and 8 minutes, I heard.
Wow, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's really good.
I think he went
wow.
in the first wave. I was in the second wave. He went in the first. And I think he had like a little... I think the guard athletics club were running with him, like 3 of them or 4 of them or something, just like around him. Like not armed or whatever it is, but just running with him. And then the last 4... He ran it for the Deborah Foundation. His friend is this really...
saw the interview that they did on the Late Late Show. Yeah. Brilliant.
And then the last 4K he pushed her along in a buggy, so... Fair play to him.
Brilliant.
I only saw like the video after he's ran, and they're like asking him loads of questions, and they've loads of fucking cameras on him, and you can see that he's just in absolute pain. Like, you ran a marathon before, you know?
Yeah.
That feeling
I would never do it again.
That feeling where like I want to die. No. Imagine asking and you can see him. He's like, lads, come on, you've had your shot. Leave us alone. Just give us a break, will you? And I was like, I would have said, shove that camera up your fucking hole.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone. Do you know?
I say it was awful. I ran it in Madrid in 2015. I ran it, and there was still. I still sometimes like look at the videos of me, like, because I had a friend of mine was running with me, and he was he's a semi-professional athlete actually. Yeah. So like he was with me there, and he ran like about 45 minutes quicker than me. He stayed with me the first like 3K, and he was like, Doug's on, see you later. I was like, yeah, fine, yeah, see you mate. But he recorded me crossing the finish line, and I was so happy. Yeah. Like, I was giggling, I was dancing, I was like doing the old hand movement. So like, it's amazing. It was just very long, and like, there's only so much your brain trances you out of forgetting the movements, because like you said, there's dips, but the lucky thing for me, I did something called a rock and roll marathon, which is a company that travel around the world and do like band stages every couple of kilometers. So like what you said about that Dublin marathon,
it makes such a difference.
I did the half in Dublin, and a bit annoying because the last 10Ks was like a 5K loop twice at Phoenix Park. It was really annoying. Like, oh my god! But after it, I was like, I don't think I'll ever do this again, because it just took so much out of me. But I don't know. I think I've changed my mind. I think I will. I think I'll do it again.
It's just getting back out there. That's all it is.
Yeah, I like it.
Remember, there's a great runner, Courtney DeWalter. She ran the Moab 240, which is 240 miles. She ran it in 55 hours. She was 11 hours faster than second place. And she gives a great piece of advice. She goes, it's just one foot in front of the other. Whatever gets you to get one foot in front of the other, whether it's food, hydration, changing mindset, changing clothes, one foot in front of the other. And you're like, yeah.
It's a great message now, because I was talking at work today that I'm in the office 2 days a week, and I said, like, I think I might turn into 3 in the darker days, because like, if you're working from home and then at 5 o'clock comes and you don't have an evening plan, you might not leave. You might go to bed, and then you end up like you climbing up the walls by 7 o'clock going, I've done nothing. So it's a good message to send that, because like, this is the time to maybe step into a bit more fitness and maybe go into that gym that you were like putting on hold, because like, yeah, it's easy to say no when it gets darker, I think, and colder.
Well, another Ross Edgley's a sports Ross Edgley's the first man to ever swim around the whole of Great Britain. He swam all the way around the island of Britain, essentially. I think it's 2,500 miles he swam, 5.5 months. But he's into like stoic stuff and teaching and all, and sport man mindset and stuff like that. And he says I think it was the Spartans. They said the phrase they used was getting wintered, and basically what they used to do was, because the battles are usually during the summer, they'd train during the winter, when it was really brutal, when the weather was shit, because the conditions were worse than the summertime. So if you're running on a lovely sunny day and everything's going nice, grand, you're used to running in the pissings of rain and the weather is really cold and the wind's howling, and you're still going out on those days, you'd be grand on the days when it's like,
fine.
Because you're like, oh, this is shit, my legs are sore. Yeah, but at least it's not fucking blistering cold.
Yeah.
You know, but the only thing is, though, what happened to me, I started training in the winter last year for the marathons, and now I can't run in the heat.
Well, there you go.
Like I was in my element on Sunday because I was like, oh, it's cold out, love this. It's in a fucking t-shirt. I was like, love cold weather now. Whereas when you're wearing when I ran the Limerick one in July, it was 25 degrees.
Beautiful.
Fucking melted. How much hair I have in my face?
Yeah, not a great place to be.
Not a great place, like a raisin.
And you're in Limerick as well.
That's Limerick said. Hey, back to the poems.
I had a perfect poetic day on Monday, the day after the Dublin Marathon. I was out with the missus on a bit of a mooch around town. I was like, right, let's just leave the gaff about midday and just swan around Dublin City. Walk up Dawson Street and down the arcade and up to South William Street and then down just little lanes and see where we end up. I have a friend of mine at work, Ricardo. Shout out to Ricardo. Big on the reading is Ricardo. Recently moved actually to just outside Oramore in Galway. English fella, mad. But listen, he's
Ricardo.
Ricardo was Italian heritage, but he's a London lad, and he's been on about going to the secret bookstore for ages. It's the secret bookstore.
It's a great bookshop.
Yeah. Oh my god. So I never actually heard of it before. So I was like, right, I'm going to go on this day.
It's a secret.
It's a secret.
It's a secret.
And what an experience.
It's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah, went in, you have to go through a little corridor and then you go in. It's like you're in a... You ever see the film Page Master?
Yeah.
Cartoon?
Yeah.
It felt like that.
Loved it.
Just books everywhere. Books on the floor. Books in boxes. Books hanging off shelves. Like amazing. First book I found that was literally in front of me was Benjamin Zephaniah's biography and poetry collection.
No way.
Life and Rhymes. I was like, well, this is me.
Yeah.
This is welcome to the shop.
Yeah.
And there was a really lovely poetry area. So I said, listen, let's just pick a random one. So I picked this book, right? And it's called Dancing with Chaos by Patricia Monaghan. I was like, right, or Monaghan, if you will. And I was like, right, as you will on a shopping day, you go for a pint after. Went to Devitts, walked up to Camden Street.
Great pub.
One of my favourite pubs in Dublin is Devitts. Sat at the bar. Where else would you sit? Sat at the bar. I was like, said to my partner, get the book out, turn the page, we'll read it together. And this fucking poem that I've picked at random out of this random collection from the secret bookshop is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. Now, unfortunately, Patricia Monaghan passed away in 2012, so I was actually trying to find who she was. But the book's published by Salmon Poetry.
Oh.
Salmon are down in, I think it's Ennis Timon in County Clare. Published the Phil Lynch collection.
Yeah.
That we read a poem out recently. So I want to share this one with you, man. It's fucking mind-blowing. It's a story as well as a poem. And the poem by the late Patricia Monaghan is called The Butterfly Tattoo Effect. Charlene was 50 when she got it. One small butterfly perched on her right shoulder, bright blue with stipples of pink. Everything in her life seemed safe by then. Husband, children, house and dog. She wanted to be a little dangerous. When she left the Jade Dragon, she called her oldest friend Maggie in Florida with the news. A tattooed gal at 50, she bragged. I ain't down yet. Maggie laughed at that throaty laugh of hers. An hour later, on her way to work, she stopped on a whim and bought a gallon of red paint for her door. That night, she didn't drive straight home, but stopped for a drink at an old haunt from her more dangerous years. No one she knew was there, so she talked a while to Flo, the bartender, told her about feng shui and red doors, and oh yes, she mentioned the tattoo just before she left. It rested in Flo's mind all night as she uncapped the beers and mixed the drinks. She was warmer than usual, sassy and loud. Things got wild. There was dancing. A new woman stopped in and picked up one of the regulars. Washing up past midnight, Flo thought of her old friend Paula, who lived in California. It was still early there. Flo picked up the phone right then and called. Somehow the subject of Charlene's tattoo came up. Paula had been thinking of getting one too. Why not? Life marks us all. Why can't we choose our scars just once? They talked till late. The next day, Paula walked into a dealership and bought the reddest car she saw. By nightfall, she was driving fast towards the south. And the next morning, the world awoke to news of seismic convulsions on every continent brought on by the simultaneous shifting into high gear of millions of women in sleek red cars.
That was The Butterfly Tattoo Effect by the late Patricia Monaghan.
What a story.
I have a funny story to counteract that story.
Okay, cool. Tell me.
The third tattoo I ever got. I went in a dragon tattoo on Talbot Street. And I said to him, I was 18. I said, I want to get a tattoo on my forearm. And he said, what do you want to get? And I said, I want to get the butterfly effect tattooed on my arm. And he's like, what's the butterfly effect? And I goes, the flutter of a butterfly's wing could cause a monsoon halfway across the world. And he said, there's no way you're getting that fucking tattooed on you. You wouldn't fit it on your arm. I was a lot skinnier. You wouldn't fit that on your fucking arm. Think of something else. So I wrote this, and it was my first ever kind of poem.
The smallest decisions have the greatest impact.
Butterfly effect.
The butterfly effect.
There you go. So when I was reading that, when I was listening to that poem,
thinking about it.
That sounds like a short movie.
Yeah.
Short film, like.
Yeah, I could imagine this woman driving and then heading into turning left into the suburb where she's from, and she's like, in her brain, she's remembering all of the time she had at this bar and go like, I think it's the day's turn. It's time to turn right.
Yeah.
Just for one night.
Live a little.
Yeah. And having those like chats with strangers and sharing real anecdotes about who you actually are rather than like whatever you're trapped in.
Yeah.
Like that stops you from saying the truth.
It is mad how people fall into the kind of humdrum of life and just forget to live life. I think I suppose there's so much distraction there, you know, with work and family and stuff like that you kind of just get on getting on. Whereas then sometimes you're like, hang on a second, you need to
stop
and just fucking experience life a little bit. You know, get a tattoo, get a butterfly tattoo.
Yeah,
and I mean,
we're both a bit like that. I think we're both a bit cynical about like the kind of rigid, conservative ways that people live. Like, you know, my life will probably like go a little bit that way, but I'll always question what I'm up to and why I'm there and what I'm saying, and try to be honest of like my words, because words are fucking powerful.
Yeah,
you can be trapped by your own words.
Definitely.
You're trapped about like your own bollocks about like your own lifestyle and experiences. Like you can be trapped by them.
I love having conversations with strangers, and then like you're having a really in-depth conversation. You're like, oh, this is getting into a real conversation.
Yeah.
And we're on the dart. Like, it's like one of us has to get off.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know you. You know, that's always the best. Them little conversations with people that you're like, how the fuck did we even get into talking?
Oh yeah, no.
You really enjoy it.
They keep you alive, man.
Yeah.
They keep you alive.
Do you know?
We're, in a weird way, we're both reading books about significant Irish poets.
Yeah.
From completely different eras, and we were chatting today about like what we're going to share, and you were telling me that you were reading about a writer that we shared a piece of way back at the start of the podcast.
I forgot.
You forgot.
We're finally at the stage now of we're double dipping.
We've done all the poems.
We're double dipping.
Yeah.
We're forgetting who we've covered.
I'm not.
You're not. Luckily you're here. I don't listen to myself anyway, so like I'm glad you're here.
Oh God, I do.
Listen to me
all the time.
Fucking this. I found this this book. It's brilliant. Finding Mangan. And it's about the lives and afterlives of Ireland's national poet.
James Clarence Mangan.
James Clarence Mangan. So I know we'd covered him briefly, but I think we obviously didn't go into him too. It was episode 1, episode 2.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about him too
Anybody
much.
wants to listen to it, go back and listen.
Well, you have to listen quite intently the volume shite, but I wouldn't bother.
We're not so serious broadcasters like we are now. We were humbly starting out. Now we're fucking fabulous. But anyway, and humble. And this is brilliant. So this writer basically got she stumbled into a lock-in with Shane MacGowan, and he had a book of poetry with him because he's fucking Shane MacGowan.
Yeah.
And in that book, it was they collected poems of James Clarence Mangan.
Wow.
And it's all about James Clarence, his life, how he lived through the Liberties during the famine, how he was the national poet, how he ended up dying from cholera. He was they reckon he was addicted to heroin or opium at the time. He was an opium eater. He was an alcoholic. He basically lived destitute, like as a homeless man. So like at first he was a scrivener. He was working in a cleric's office, worked his way up, became like an adored figure in Irish literature. And then when the famine happened, obviously like the country was so destitute, he fell into ruin as well because he was battling his own addictions. And then was found by like a priest when he was like ridden with cholera and was brought to a hospital, Mead Street Hospital, and died in the hospital. And his work then again took off because what did they say, he lived as a cockroach and then became like kind of angelic afterwards because he shed his mortal form and the story of him kind of went through. So but like some of the poems that he has is fucking incredible, you know. So I want to read out a poem for him, and now that we know who he is, so we lightly touched, we've gone deep into the. And
I was so excited that we're going to share this one because not only had I not heard this poem before, I'd never known the origins of the phrase Roisin Dubh. It's one of my favourite pubs to go to whenever I'm in Galway. Like it's a popular night spot and venue, but I never really know what it meant. Roisin Dubh. Roisin Dubh is a song, and it's the Gaelic for dark Rosalind.
Yeah,
dark
black
Rosalind.
Black would be
Black Rosalind.
Yeah.
It's a song that was been sang like covered by the Pogues and Sinead O'Connor, and you know it's from like the middle of the 1500s, like a really late song, and this inspired James Clarence Mangan to write his own shorter version of what is essentially you wouldn't know, but it's like a nationalist piece of work that's kind of painted in love and romance, but really at its core it's like it's nationalistic. It's about frustrations around oppression and all the things that were important back then. Because
he went to like the he was a big contributor to The Nation and stuff like that, like Republican nationalist newspapers and stuff like that, and was like contributed loads to all these different kinds of like, you know, literary kind of journals and stuff like that for like Irish nationalism, stuff like that. But he such an interesting character, like, you know, and how, but like even like there's loads of his biography is missing. Like he semi-wrote his own biography, and then the second part of the biography was destroyed. He in his hospital bed when he was dying, he was at death's door. He brought in one of the cholera things when people find him. Their tongue is like really, really cold, and they can tell that it's a severe dehydration. He basically 24 hours left to live. So they brought him to like a really, really good. He had like 3 doctors looking after in the famine era. Yeah, which, you know, they could barely look after anybody. And they used to have cholera sheds out in the grounds of the hospital, and a lot of the victims of cholera didn't die from cholera. They died because they froze to death because they didn't have beds for them inside.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And he had like 2 or 3 doctors looking after him. So he kind of got better for a while, you know, because he was being looked after so well. And obviously being homeless and stuff like that, he lived very rough. So now he's been, you know, the care has brought him back.
That's not that. I was listening to a story the other day about someone who was left on a bed in a Dublin hospital. So like it's not. Things haven't moved on too much. Not
too much, yeah. Well, at least they're inside now, which is, you know, they've moved from the courtyard just a few meters. But the doctor was like, he's starting to write again. So the doctor used to get like medicine, but they didn't want to give him like sheets of paper. They wanted to give him scraps because that's what he was used to writing. He used to write like his music book on pieces of paper that he'd find on the street. So they got him like medicine bottle caps and like the papers ripped off the labels and stuff and gave him the labels and left him around, and he'd scribble all over it. And he wrote loads in the last couple of days. And the doctor came back and was like, there's his last writings, we need to get them. They're under his pillow when he died. And it turns out one of the hospital wardens was a bit of a busybody and threw them all out, thought it was clutter. So his last writings were destroyed, and that's like his life is constantly through that, where it's like things are being he'd create something and it'd be destroyed. So there's a lot of his stuff has actually been like lost in the annals of history, I suppose. But like James Joyce, like would have covered him massively, wrote like articles, was in the debating club, wrote like an article about him. Finnegan's Wake, he's mentioned in the poet or the artist as a young man. This young Stephen the Dallas meets Mangan kind of character and stuff like that. So huge part of James Joyce. A lot of Irish writers. Then you have like obviously Shane MacGowan and stuff like that as well. Big kind of fan of him, stuff like that. So anyway, I'm going to read for you and our listeners Dark Rosaleen by the national poet James Clarence Mangan. Oh, my dark Rosaleen, do not sigh, do not weep. The priests are on the ocean green, they march along the deep. There's wine from the royal pope upon the ocean green, and Spanish ale shall give you hope, my dark Rosaleen, my own Rosaleen. Shall glad your heart, shall give you hope, shall give you health and help and hope, my dark Rosaleen. Over hills and through dales have I roamed for your sake. All yesterday I sailed with sails on river and on lake. The Erne at its highest flood I dashed across unseen, for there was lightning in my blood, my dark Rosaleen, my own Rosaleen. Oh, there was lightning in my blood, red lighting through my blood, my dark Rosaleen. All day long in unrest, to and fro do I move. The very soul within my breast is wasted for you, love. The heart in my bosom faints to think of you, my queen, my life of life, my saint of saints, my dark Rosaleen, my own Rosaleen. To hear your sweet and sad complaints, my life, my love, my saint of saints, my dark Rosaleen. Woe and pain, pain and woe are my lot, night and noon. To see your bright face clouded so, like to the mournful moon. But yet will I rear your throne again in golden sheen. 'Tis you shall reign alone, my dark Rosaleen, my own Rosaleen. 'Tis you shall have the golden throne, 'tis you shall reign and reign alone, my dark Rosaleen. Over dews, over sands will I fly for your wheel. Your holy delicate white hands shall girdle me with steel. At home in your emerald bowers, from morning's dawn till e'en, you'll pray for me, my flower of flowers, my dark Rosaleen, my fond Rosaleen. You'll think of me through daylight hours, my virgin flower, my flower of flowers, my dark Rosaleen. I could scale the blue air, I could plough the high hills, oh, I could kneel all night in prayer to heal your many ills, and one beamy smile from you would float like light between my toils and me, my own, my true, my dark Rosaleen, my fond Rosaleen. Would give me life and soul anew, my dark Rosaleen. Oh, the Erne shall run red with redundance of blood. The earth shall rock beneath your tread, and flames wrap hill and wood, and gun peal and slogan cry wake many a glen serene. Ere you shall fade, ere you shall die, my dark Rosaleen, my own Rosaleen. The judgment hour must first be nigh. Here you can fade and here you can die, my dark Rosaleen.
That was James Clarence Mangan with Dark Rosaleen. Could have been an epic Robert Burns love poem, really.
Because he's talking to Mother Roisin, which would be like the, what we call kind of Ireland, the spirit of Ireland.
Oh, the poem what died the sons of Roisin.
Roisin, yeah.
Wow.
Roisin,
so Roisin's like
Roisin is like the spirit of Ireland.
The spirit of Ireland.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they have like the national spirit. So the sons of Roisin would be like the sons of Ireland.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you were saying that Shane MacGowan was found in a pub with a collection of James Clarence Mangan's poems. That's who I'm reading about at the moment. I'm reading a book called A Drink with Shane MacGowan, which was written by Victoria, his partner.
Yeah.
But and I've mentioned it on the podcast before. The reason it's taken me so long to read, right, is because after every session, because I'm going to call them, they're not chapters, they're sessions, you feel so exhausted.
Oh, really?
You have to put it down a bit. You can't do... So the book is a conversation between him and Vicky about life. And look, she'll prod him with questions and he'll answer. But after every long, winding... bicker argument, then really philosophical stuff, and then anecdotes of being homeless and his drinking habits, you feel like you need to leave the pub after every end of the chapter, and every new chapter is a new place and a new conversation. So you have to read it like that.
Yeah,
it's like every time a new chapter, it's like catching up with someone again, but because it's him, I could just feel like being in his space must be such a lovely but also quite an exhausting fucking experience, because I just imagine it was to be around him. No, the things he says is mad. But he was inspired heavily by James Clarence Mangan.
Yeah.
And he wrote a poem about the famine that I hadn't read before, but it was it's been performed by Ronnie Drew actually before.
Really?
As a song. Yeah, but it's a poem that he wrote, and heavily influenced by Mangan, because he was not a famine poet, but like he was around, like you said, around when the famine was happening. So I'll read this one to you, right? This is a poem by Shane MacGowan, and the poem is called The Dunes. I walked today on the cold grey shore, where I watched when I was much younger, when they built the dunes upon the sand, for the dead from the great hunger. Although I was a doctor's son, I gazed in fear and wonder as they perished from the raging plague that came in with the great hunger. When I watched at the age of 4 in 1847 the mounds they built upon the shore, they seemed to point to heaven. The wind and the rain, they worked their way. The dunes, they are all uneven. The children kicked the sand around, and the bones, they are revealed then. My brothers and my sisters died, my mother only 24, and I alone survived to see the potatoes growing plenty. As we died in vain, they stole our grain to put upon their tables. The dying covered the dead with sand and danced while they were able. When the fiddler played, we drank poteen, then ate the last of the berries, then knelt and said the rosary round the mounds of dead we buried. I saw dark shadows rise up from the sand and dance all around the dunes. They danced the rattling dance of the dead to a set of mournful tunes. A crack of lightning split the sky, the rain on the dunes it poured. I left them lying where I'd shot them down, the bailiff and the landlord. Then I went for a drink in Westport. I walked today on the cold grey shore, where I watched when I was much younger, when they built the dunes upon the sand for the dead from the great hunger.
That was The Dunes by Shane MacGowan.
Tough read, and maybe an interesting listen for you, coming from me. Yeah,
I think it was good. I think it was. It's. Yeah, I think it's very interesting to hear from yourself. Yeah.
Well, actually, one of the craziest things, and I'm sure you know this anyway, but the education that English people have around the history of Ireland is almost zero. To the point, right? This is actually insane. I'm a big fan of a podcast called The Rest is History.
Yeah.
Tom Holland is one of the historians who does that, and they did an on-location series, The History of Ireland, and they recorded the first episode of the GPO. Right. And it goes back to... The whole series covers 1916 Easter Rising, the Great Famine, Oliver Cromwell's reign, from that end to the present day. So, and it covers a bit of the Troubles as well. and the lads who were so knowledgeable about Greek and Roman history, and even like to the Mayan cultures and the like, it's like these two lads know everything, didn't know a fucking thing about Irish history.
Wow.
And the conflict between Great Britain, okay, you should call it the British, Brits, and Ireland, and they had to bring a specialist in to like has a 3-person podcast series, and I just was blown away with the lack of knowledge that they have, because like that just shows like it's not just layman lads on stag do's coming to Dublin going like, I love the Guinness here, and not having a clue what's going on. Like, it just isn't taught.
It's mad. It
isn't taught.
I think that's like, I know that because I have cousins that live in England, and they would tell us that like you hear nothing about it. You hear nothing, and it's like how big that played like in the Irish, how such a big thing now. It's like within the Irish psyche from that where Britain played such a big part in that happening, and yet future or contemporary people from Britain now have no idea what happened.
No clue.
Which is mad. And like, even like, I remember like the more I learned, because I'm learning Irish now, and the more you learn about your own language, the more there's things when you learn, like any language, if you learn a different language, there's some things you can express in one language that you can't express in another. So the famine, the Great Famine, is in Irish is called An Gorta Mór. An Gorta Mór is the Great Hunger, or the Great Famine.
Yeah.
Like Mór meaning big. An is there, Gorta would be famine, and then Mór is big. So that's how we structure things.
Okay, cool.
The famine big, the big famine, the Great Famine.
Yeah.
But like Gorta, or Gort, G-O-R-T, or G-O-R-T, means famine. Gort, like hort, or whatever it's called, so it's G-H-O-R-T means field. But Gorton, which is Gort, G-O-R-T-A-N-N, means hurt.
Oh.
So the verb for hurt is Gorton.
Wow.
Gorta is famine, and Gort is field. It's like,
wow,
how many things you can express in literally like the one word, like a variation of one word.
Yeah.
In so many different emotions, and it's like on Gorta Mór is like the great field, the great tragedy that happened in the field. That happened. You couldn't express that in English, like, but how like there's, because I'd even like say people in Ireland now, like older people from like say the people that are in like their 70s, to speak Irish. Now there's obviously people in Ireland that would be very proud to speak Irish from that kind, but like back then in their day, to speak Irish was considered like working class, was considered like really cheap. You shouldn't be speaking Irish,
right?
And it was because it was their mindset at the time, and like it's the loss of your identity, like your language, like, which was put on you, and like, but even the church did it as well. It wasn't just the British; it was the church, the Catholic Church did it as well. Like they wanted to get rid of Ireland, they wanted you to speak English
for sure, and all the sport as well, and to get rid of all the identity.
They want people to you took the soup. It was like during the famine, the church would dish out the soup, but you had to come and like you had to basically like you had to fucking convert, and you get the soup.
Stop.
You know what I mean?
But I think just the message there is like, if you don't know, find out.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Not to like blow me out Trump, but like when I realised I was going to live here for longer than my job transfer allowed me to.
Yeah.
Because I moved here on a work transfer from London, and as soon as I realised I loved it here. That's when I went to command in jail. Yeah. And that's when you because you have to care, and it's good to know. Yeah. It's good to know where you are.
Like when I was living in Berlin, I went to see the Berlin Wall.
Of course you did.
In Germany today, they're taught about what happened in the 30s and 40s. They're quite staunchly taught.
When I went to Berlin, they've got the Million Jews. Is it the Million Jews monument, where it's like different levels of
concrete blocks. The Holocaust Memorial.
Yeah, the Holocaust Memorial. Of course it is. Yeah, and it's that is an experience to go to.
It's very trippy, isn't it? Did you walk into it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, of course I did. Yeah, and all of a sudden you're locked into this like cage
concrete blocks, concrete block, and you're walking through, and you lose depth perception because you go into the ground, kind of, don't you? Like it's
you do.
You can't really see your surroundings. You're just kind of it plays with your head a bit, but like it's so prevalent in German culture. Like they're like, right, look, we're educating yous now because we don't want that to fucking happen again. We're not saying the yous did it because you weren't alive, but you should know about it so you don't fucking tilt back into wars. Again,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, and to be fair as well, there's a bit of balance because like I went to see a Hertha Berlin football match.
Yeah.
And I was with two mates of mine. One's an Irish guy who moved to Germany. And I didn't realise that the Olympic Stadium was still there from the 1936 Olympic Games. But that's their home stadium. So I was at a football match watching this game where literally one of the corners of the stadium, there's no seats, it's just a plinth. It's a platform for when that was built purposely for speeches of Goering and Himmler and Hitler.
Wow.
So like I walk up to this Olympic Stadium and you can see the original rings. The Olympic rings are still there from nearly 100 years ago. And my head went, I was like, how the fuck is this still? But then, you know, why should they have knocked it down? I don't know. That's obviously my brain playing tricks to me because you just see the Nazi flags being draped across the stadium. I was there watching the match going, I can't stop staring at that bloody platform there. But listen, every country deals with their own darkness in different ways. Don't they?
Even like, obviously Berlin's such an interesting place because the Russians occupied East Berlin then after the war. And they have like, so the German government were like, we're not going to knock, obviously they took down all the fucking Nazis, well that was taken down after the war. But when Berlin and Germany kind of got their own sovereignty back after the Russians left and stuff like that, and, you know, the Americans and all were gone, they were like, we're going to keep everything to remind us. So like if you go into like I think it's Tiergarten in Berlin, there's a massive Soviet soldier statue for like the pride of Russia. So like, but you can see the Reichstag. So you can see the Reichstag, which is like fucking, you know, there obviously the parent buildings during the time of the Nazis. But then you have this massive fucking communist soldier statue there. It's like, it's such an interest because it's like you shouldn't be knocking down pieces of history to remind yourself, don't fucking go back to doing it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
You know?
We've gone over here. We're rabbiting on, but it's been fun.
Yeah, it has been.
I think what I'd like to do here is we had a couple of more poems lined up, but what I would love to do, because I just thought about it last week and I was like, right, you know, when we were talking last week about relationships, I think, and how like there's a process of how like you grow to be more confident, to be open about what you're up to with your partner. Like, you know what I mean? You grow out of, you know, pretending that it's like not cool to be romantic, basically. And there's a poet and a playwright called Shiv Hickey.
Oh yeah.
Who I mean, just a great writer of words, really. And she wrote this poem, and it's untitled, but it's about that. It's about how we all deserve to be shouted from the rooftops a little bit. So I'll ask you to read it, mate.
Yeah, of course.
So there
I love
it is.
Shiv's work.
Yeah. So here you go. And the poem is untitled, but I think the poem should be called Loved Out Loud. She actually said, she's so funny. She was like, it's untitled because I don't type my poems because I'm obviously a twat. Very funny lass. So yeah, there you go, mate. So this is Shiv Hickey with Loved Out Loud.
You asked if you could reach for me. I should walk away from drunken midnights that mean nothing more than that. I am worth so much more than the dark. I am worth the light and everything that comes with it. I deserved to be loved out loud.
That was Shiv Hickey with Loved Out Loud.
Beautiful piece.
Beautiful piece.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. Loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Deserves the light and everything else.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Brilliant.
Thanks for sharing that, Shiv. We're about to record our first Patreon exclusive episode of the read-along that we've been doing.
Exclusive.
So we wanted to tell you what the book is, because we'd love for you to join us on the next one. So the book that we've read as a group this month has been Maya Angelou's And Still I Rise.
We covered Maya Angelou in an earlier episode if you want to get a little flavour of it. Ryan Dugsy Malone reading Phenomenal Woman, because he's a phenomenal woman, phenomenally.
It's a beautiful poem, but the collection is wonderful. It's a third collection, published in 1978, and we had such fun reading it as a group, and we've had voice notes from our listeners of like, you know, how surprising they thought it was, because Maya Angelou's work it quickly speeds from racial inequality to like riding randoms.
It's so sassy.
It can go wherever she wants.
Yeah.
And maybe one of the most interesting people really in the last couple of decades to be in the in popular culture. So yeah, we're just really excited to share it. So that's what we read. So the next one is live now. So if you're interested, if you'd like to join us, you just need to subscribe to our Patreon. The way you find it, it's on our Instagram. If you click the link tree, and then there's a link that says join our community, that's where the Patreon is. It's €3 a month. You get access to that exclusive podcast, and you won't get the book itself, but you'll know what the book is.
It's the price of one Freddo bar in these trying times.
That's tough
Subscribe.
to hear, isn't it? The days of a 10p Freddo bar.
No, he's got himself a mortgage.
P. Sorry, my apologies.
And some turkey teeth.
Don't want to say P now. 10 pence. Not after the old the famine conversation. I meant cent. Leon, thanks for your time.
Always a pleasure, never to char, baby.
Let's get on to the read along.